Writing my thesis was a little crazy and took a long time, and I'll talk a little bit more about it, but I want to make sure that you know that this is not a dissertation for a PhD. So my thesis is not that long, but it is an art history master's thesis, and that's what I'll tell you guys about. But schools are probably very different, and it depends on the major, and it depends on the country you're taking the courses in, and probably the university as well. Because my degree was an art history master's, we were required to take a methods course in our second semester of our first year, which was one of the worst classes I ever took. On one hand, it's because I really hate theory, especially art historical theory. I very rarely say I'm actually an art historian because I hate theory so much. But on the other hand, this class was not really adapted for the Egyptology students that were in this degree, and it was very much catered towards the art history students that were learning non-ancient art. So we just had difficulties all the way around. In this class, we essentially had to pick our topic and write one of the first sections of the thesis in it. But I will say it wasn't totally clear that the topic that we were picking for this specific paper was going to be the actual topic of our thesis, which was another problem in and of itself. I went through countless ideas for mine, all of which were rejected by my professor in my Egyptology degree. And I was determined to do something that would be interesting and understandable for non-academics, because at the time I was already growing a distaste for academia, and I really wanted to be able to talk to the public about my thesis without boring them or confusing them, etc. I settled on the depictions of ancient Egyptian dogs and cataloging them into iconographic categories. No one had really done this before in the field, and dogs really only had a surface level discussion within Egyptology. I began seriously researching that semester and then into the summer and then into my second year, pretty much almost 10 months probably. And I had to get most of that research done before Christmas and then start writing. Though I will say I already had a large chunk, which was my literature review, which was the paper that needed to be done in that methods class. A literature review is essentially you look at all of the literature that is related to your topic and review it and talk about both the authors and the actual text, and that will hopefully essentially show the gaps in the scholarship that you are then going to present for your thesis. I didn't really travel for my thesis research. Most of this was done via books, museum websites, and then this massive index within Egyptology called Porter and Moss. And there are some people that might travel for their research, but honestly, that's more common for PhD level candidates because you'll be able to get funding to sponsor you to go to those places. But for master's thesis, that's pretty uncommon. Let me know if you have any more questions.